So the file for today's lesson has been sent in the chat. Those who are able to view it, clearly in the screen sharing, you may continue viewing it in the screen sharing. Those who are unable to view it clearly in the screen sharing, please view it through the file that is sent in the group. So touch delete to everyone. So today we're going to discuss the continuative case, the usage of the continuative particles. During the previous class, we have already finished the inclusive and ornamental case. We went through the introduction of particles. Then we went through the association based on the suffix letter. And finally, we talked about the usage case. And so this particular usage case of the continuative particles, which is the continuative case, will be done in the similar manner. We will first, so for today's class, we will only introduce the particles and a very brief introduction on what we are going to study under this particular usage case. And the next class will talk about association based on suffix letter. And then finally, we will talk about the usage cases. This particular case has, if we talk about the usage case, it has only 3 usage case, but each usage case has, so 2 of the usage cases have a subgroup. So because of which there will be in total around 7 different cases in which this particular particle can be used. So therefore, this will be an interesting usage case. There is no inferential usage cases here. There is only the direct usage case, though it can be argued that the sub-usage cases are somewhat not directly stated in the text, but since we are already including the collective of those subgroup as a name, so therefore we may understand it as a directly stated usage case. So before we go to the lesson, we begin with our verse of dedication. So today we have written the verse of dedication to the Lord Manjushri. And so let me recite this. The translation of this, as well as the translation of this, as well as the dedication, verse of dedication, will be provided later. So, okay. So this is, the first one is a line of dedication. So it's it's a single line, which in itself is in its entirety a statement of dedication. So this particular line of dedication is taken from the praise to Manjushri. So it's an extract. It's taken from another text. So so here with this, I take refuge, I prostrate, or I take refuge in Manjushri, the Lord Manjushri, who is not other than my own guru. So my guru and Manjushri are the same and one. And so by viewing it in that manner, I shall take refuge and I shall prostrate to Guru Manjushri. Okay, so now the verse, which is a verse of dedication to Manjushri. So, Drua Gunte Vimalai Gombocho. Sherab Dreme se Chogun Rabawa. Gunzu Katso Sherab Nimata Nanun. Lama Gombo Jambeyang La Chatsel. Okay, so this Omara Bazanati. So this particular verse, the first line, Guntul Vimalai Gombocho means the one who liberates all the sentient being and the Lord of the pure land of Vimala, the most excellent Lord of the pure land of Vimala. Shirab Drume se Chokun Rabawa. The lamp of wisdom, that the light of the lamp of wisdom which shines most wonderfully in all the directions. Just like how the sun overcomes or overwhelms the twinkling lights of the stars. Similarly, the wisdom light of whom overcomes all the delusions of conventional reality. I prostrate to you, O Lord and Guru Manjushri. And then the seed, the root mantra, that is Om Arapazanati. Okay, so with this, in the most auspicious way, we will begin our class. So today's class will do an introduction in which we will introduce the particles of the continuative case, and then talk briefly about the different type of usage cases as a statement in which the continuative particles are used. So first, let me recite the line which shows the particles of the continuative case. So, from the tree of excellent speech, the particles of continuative case are te, te, te. Okay, so so here we are just elaborating on that particular line. There are three particles used in the statement of the continuative particle or continuative case. So for a statement which is considered to be a statement of continuative case, there is usage of three particles which are known as the particles of continuative case. And these three particles or connective particles are te, te, te. So these three. And so here we see that the introduction of the particles of continuative case is done here, in which we understand that there are three particles which are used in the statement of the continuative case. Te, te, and te. Okay, so now the very definition of what it is meant by continuative case or hakche. So the very word definition of the word hakche or continuative case. Kabab ki jue che tuanam mazo bam tuan tenam hama yopar te 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 sum ki tembala hakche ki chubaser. So kabab means currently stated, something that is stated at this very moment, or at something that is being stated at this very moment. Je, this is something that we already discussed. Je means to state. Jeba means statement. So here we stick more inclined towards the usage of the word juba rather than the word tsiktup, because it is something that was originally written in the text of 30. And that's the reason why we are inclined more towards using the word juba. So this is the definition of continuative case. What does a continuative case statement mean? What type of statement qualifies to be a continuative case statement? So, statement in which there is usage of the three particles of the continuative case, that is te, te, te. And these three particles in this particular type of statement, so this is the general definition. We will get into specific as we talk in more detail about each of the usage case. So always understand that there is a general definition of a particular statement usage case, and then there is a specific definition for a specific function under that particular general usage case. So therefore, it is to be understood that even though these are a particular subgroup of a general usage case, all of these have to stay in relevance to the general explanation. So therefore here, the general definition of the continuative case is that it's a statement in which there is usage of the particles of continuative case. And the usage is done in order to show the left out or unfinished meaning of a current statement. So in this particular statement, the three particles of continuative case, these three particular particles are being used, and these are being used in order to show or to bring out a narration, which is a continuation of a current statement. So what this actually means is that that whenever we are using these particles with after a narration, that particular narration is not finished. And so they require these particular particles so that the left out meaning could be brought in. And so these cases, these usage case, these statements are known as continuative case. Okay, so now how to get ni that means since the particles of the continuative particle case is a dependent particle, so it's a dependent particle. And what do we mean by dependent particle is that these particles, when they are associated with a particular name, they do so on the basis of the suffix letter. So that is the criteria of a dependent particle. So they either follow a name on the basis of one of the 10 suffix letter, or in some cases, they may follow a name on the basis of a post-suffix letter, as well as having a case where there is no suffix letter. So in those cases, they may follow accordingly. And there is a particular set of rules which depicts or which tells us how each of these particles should be used with the names. We have already discussed those for the 6th grammatical case, the 3rd grammatical case. We have already discussed this for the inclusive and ornamental case. And so similarly, we're going to discuss the same for the continuative case. Okay, so since these are dependent particle, they associate with name, respective name, so whichever name that they follow, on the basis of suffix letter. Okay, so this. So today we're only going to introduce do a brief introduction. So the class will be much shorter in comparison to normal classes. And not only that, after today's this class, I'm also going to send some assignment for the previous lessons, so that we can have a revision. So okay, so now since we briefly introduced that it is a dependent particle and that it will be used in accordance or on the basis of the suffix letter associated based on the suffix letter. Now we talk about the more important or more important, or the portion which talks about the usage and application of these particles in Tibetan language. The usage case of the continuative particle are conjunction case, the commitment case, and the connective case of other meaning than that one stated. So there are three usage case here. The first one is the conjunction case, the second one is the commitment case, and the third one is connective case of other meaning than the one stated. So here, these are the three usage case, and each of these usage case will have their own subgroup. So two of these will have their own subgroup, one will not have any subgroup. So, okay, so the usage case. So what is the first one? The conjunction case. So a usage case in which two actions are connected by the usage of the particle te is called conjunction case. So here the conjunction is done between two action. It's not done between any two names or any two names or sort. It's done between any two actions. So it's a conjunction of two actions, and it's the the two actions which will be stated is both separated by this particle as well as connected by this particle. So this type of usage case in which two action. So in most cases, the two actions which happens, one is an action as a cause and other is an action which is understood as the result or consequence of that action. So both the cause and both the cause as well as the circumstance in Tibetan could be understood as actions, and the very factor that that determines whether something is an action, as we have already discussed, depends on whether there is a change in the physical state or the mental state, or either something that has been done, either benefits or harm something or someone. If these criteria are met, either of these criteria are met, this particular word represents an action. So therefore, here when we talk about the actions, we talk about actions in the context of both the cause as well as the consequence or the result. And so there is the conjunction between these two. And these two, the conjunction between these two terms, one being the action as a cause, other being action as a consequence, is done by the particle of connective, connective particle of continuative case. So we will discuss this particular usage case has two variation, and we will discuss this during the usage case. A very interesting type of statements. So one of the most important reason why we are doing it in this particular way is one, like I always said, that here we follow the traditional way of understanding and learning Tibetan. So whatever is being taught traditionally, and the method that is being used and the manner that has been used to teach this particular text traditionally is being followed here. This is because so that one can deeply understand the structure rather than scanning above the information to dive into and then to dissect each of the structure. And therefore, it's very important that once you understand these concepts here, you should try to use it while you're reading. And then if you're reading a particular book in Tibetan, and then you're just reading it and you can find things like the usage of these particles, then you should first try to determine which type of particle we're talking here, or which type of particle is being used here, because these are the usage case. And that is the reason why we are covering all the usage case, so that these could be found in those books. And then even when you are speaking, if many of you who are able to speak Tibetan, if you're speaking with other people, try listening to what they're saying, and then try to analyze which type of grammatical particle they're using in their conversation, in their speech, what type of grammatical particle they're using, and then by which you can actually determine what type of function that particular narration is. So it is something that will be more like an it should be something that becomes a more active part of interaction, so that even when you're speaking grammatically correct Tibetan. So therefore these different usage cases, when we're trying to understand them, like when we talk about those three compulsory, normally we talk about those compulsory components. Why? So it is important to think, why these compulsory components? What is the very purpose of trying to understand on the basis of components, rather than just saying that this is the particle, this is used here in this way, that's it. Why go on and talk about different compulsory components? Why identify these compulsory components? So it's more like an active analytical process where you analyze the language on the basis of the concept that is being understood in these classes. So I find that kind of thing to be very delightful. So I hope that every one of you would try it and find it quite delightful. And by this, one is also able to think, why this here? Why that there? Why particularly this? Why particularly that? Why does it change with this particular sentence, even though I have used most of the words similar to the ones I have used before? why is this particular, why is it not being understood in this way, even though the word is exactly the same? And then in those cases, you will understand how particular function influences the meaning of word in the whole context. So, okay, so continuing the lesson. So the usage case in which two actions are connected, one action being the cause, the second action being the consequence of the particular cause. So, for example, if we say things like, which means after igniting the fire, the heat is accumulated. So we see that the first action was the lighting of the fire. So the first action, as we see, is the lighting of the fire. The second action, as we see, is the accumulation of the heat. So therefore, we understand that in that case, we understand that there are two actions. The first action, as we understand, is the burning of the fire. The second action, as we understand, is the accumulation of heat. So both of these are understood as action, but then one is the cause of the other. The accumulation of heat is because of the burning of fire. So therefore, let me. Which means because the fire ignited, because of the ignition of fire, there is accumulation of heat. And so both the first and the second statement, which is connected by this person. This is action as a consequence, and this is action as a cause. So the cause for this particular consequence, that is accumulation of heat, is done by this particular action, which is burning of fire. So burning of fire due to accumulation of heat due to burning of fire. So this is these particular type of statement are understood as conjunction case, where there is connection or conjunction between two actions, only two actions. The first action being the cause, the second action being the consequence or the result. Okay, now the second usage case is tamjal halche. Tamjal halche ni singame tamjawa te tsikte te sumki tsikchime tempate tempala ser. It is a usage case in which the committed meaning. So here I have what I have done is that for the words that have that needs more clarification, I've just boldened them. They're bold, as you can see, meaning first portion of the statement, second portion of the statement. So when we talk about the committed meaning, we will discuss 4 different type of meanings during the usage case. So meaning means whatever that needs to be stated or a function of a statement or narration. So the committed meaning or the committed statement, which is committed by the first portion of the statement. So what do we mean by the first portion of the statement? We have actually written many statements in which we have both the first portion and the second portion. Normally, we just call them different name as a component of a statement. Like in the inclusive case, it was the inclusive word and the inclusive meaning. During the third grammatical case, it was the subject and the action. Similarly, in this case, which is the continuative case, there is the first portion of statement, which in this case is the first action. This is the first portion of the statement. So how do we differentiate between the first and the second portion of the statement? The differentiation is based on their statement of either being before the particle, the connective particle, or being after the connective particle. So we see that this particular action is being stated before this particular particle, and this particular action word is stated after this particle. So since we have these two statements, which are stated before and after the particle, they are called the first portion of the statement and second portion of the statement. Like we already discussed, if we don't consider the, if we look at an entire statement, there are words, there are names and words which are added to the statement, which are not compulsory components. So when we talk about the first portion and second portion, it must be understood that we are only talking about the compulsory components of a statement. So all of the rest which are stated but are not necessarily compulsory components could be understood as the first and the second statement, but it makes it more complicated. Instead of that, we just stick to the compulsory components. And so when we talk about the compulsory components, the order of statement is the first portion of the statement, the particle, connective particle, the second portion of the statement. So therefore, the first portion of the statement in here is whichever narration that is stated before the particle, and that particular narration commits. So it commits to show a meaning. So commits meaning that it tells us that it's going to somehow provide an additional information. And this particular additional information comes in the form of the second portion of the statement. And so these two, which is the first portion of the statement, the committed portion of the statement, and the second portion of the statement, which is the information that was committed to be provided, are connected or brought in by the usage of the particle te. Only these three particles. And in that particular type of statement, in which the first portion of the statement, which is the committed portion, and the which is the portion that makes the commitment, and the second portion of the statement, which is the committed portion, or the portion that shows the or that is the information which was committed to be provided, are brought in or connected by the particles te. And that particular type of statement, in which the committed meaning and the committing portion are connected by the particles of continuative case, are known as committed case. So it's just a statement. It's a statement. in which there are two portions. The first portion somewhat shows that it's going to provide an additional information. And the second portion is the additional information that was committed by the first portion. And so connected these two statements, which is the statement that commits and the statement that is committed, committed statement, are connected by the continuative case. This particular type of statement is known as the commitment case, and we're going to discuss this in more detail when we come to the usage case. So today it's just an introduction. Now the third usage case, and this has 4 sub-usage case. The first one had 2 variation. This has 4 variation, and the variation is on the basis of this committed meaning. So there are different committed meaning, and on the basis of different committed meaning, there are different sub-usage cases. So 4 in here, 2 variation for the first one, and no variation for the last one. Shendel Hauchi ni tik ngame tik chima tun shen temper tik te sumki temper tela ser. So a usage case in which the first let me just erase this. The first portion of the statement brings the second portion of the statement as a different meaning. It's called the connective case of other meaning than the one stated. So there are just 2 portions, and the first portion is just different from the second portion. It could be different in any way. It's just another information. So the first information and the second information, in which the first information, just by the usage of the particle, brings in another information. And that particular type of usage case is known as connective case of other meaning than the one stated. So this is like saying like, it's very simple. This type of usage case is quite simple. It's just a statement in which there are 2 information, and both of these information are different information. Saying like, this is table and that is bed, in which we see that table and bed are different phenomena. And the statement just provides 2 different information. And that type of statement is the statement of the connective case of other meaning than the one stated. The one stated is the first portion, which is the table, and the one which is being brought in by the particle of continuative the continuative particle is the bed, which is just a different phenomena than the table, and there is nothing else that relates in between. And this particular type of usage case is known as the connective case of the other meaning than the one stated. So we understand that there are. Let me just summarize today's introduction. So we begin by introducing the particles of the continuative case. There are 3 particles of the continuative case. These are te, the, te. So 3 of these. And these 3 particles are dependent particles. Dependent particles meaning that these follow their respective name in a statement on the basis of suffix letter, whether having a suffix letter, if they have a suffix, if this name has a suffix letter, then it associates on the basis of the rule that tells us which particle follows which suffix letter. Or if they don't have any, then the rule states which particle follows the name which doesn't have any suffix letter. Or in some case, if these name have a post suffix letter, ta, then we will understand that the particle which follows that particular type of a name. And we don't have to talk about the post-suffix letter sa because it's the same as the suffix letter sa. Whichever particle follows the suffix letter sa will follow the post-suffix letter sa. So it's the same. So therefore, there is no need to mention that. And then after we understood that this particular type of statement, the continuative case, has 3 usage cases. There are 3 usage cases. The first usage case is of the conjunction case. The second one is the commitment case. And third one is the connective case of the other meaning than the one stated. Samjor, conjunction case. Samjol halche, conjunction case of continuative case. Thamjol halche, commitment case of the continuative case. And finally, Shendel halche, the connective case of other meaning than the one stated of the continuative case. So 3 of these are the usage cases. The conjunction case are the type of statement. It's a statement of the continuative case in which 2 actions are connected or joined by the usage of the particle of continuative case, te, te, te. And these 2 actions, one is the cause, the other one is the consequence. And there are 2 variations under that, which we will discuss during the usage case. The second type, which is the commitment case, is a usage case in which the meaning, so meaning in which there are 4 different variations of what the committed meaning means. And this particular committed meaning is being committed by the first portion of the statement. The first portion meaning the type of, the first portion meaning the portion or the part which comes before the connective particle. Not only that, this particular first portion of the statement should be one of the compulsory components to make it more simple to understand. And then the second portion of the statement, which is the committed meaning, which is the meaning that was committed to be which the first portion commits to provide. So this is the meaning that was to be provided. And so these 2 are connected by the particles of te, te, te. Okay, and there are 4 variations under this. Finally, the connective case of other meaning than the one stated is a usage case in which the first portion of statement brings the second portion of statement in the entire narration or statement with the usage of the particle te, te, te. But in this particular usage case, in this particular statement, we understand that 2 of these statements, it has nothing to do with as conjoining 2 actions, conjoining 2 names. No, it's just simply conjoining 2 different information that has no, that may or may not. So that may or may not have a relation between them, but these are 2 different phenomena. So this particular type of usage case is known as the connective case of other meaning than the one stated. So in all, there are 3 usage case, 2 variation for the first one, 4 variation for the second one, and the third usage case. So in total, 8 usage case. It has, since it is a dependent particle, it will have a rule that states how these particles should be associated with the name, respective name that they are going to associate in a particular statement. And then finally, there are 3 particles of the continuative case. Okay, so this is the introduction to the continuative particles. Continuative case and the particles of continuative case. So today's class was shorter than usual, but it gives more time to think about what is being introduced. And not only that, it also gives time for the for revision. Okay, so before I read the words of dedication, if there are any questions regarding today's lesson, please ask away. I'll take, so since we have a little time today, I'll take three questions today. So those who have questions, please ask away.
Thank you for your brilliant lesson today. I want to ask you about Bao Cha A Cha word. We know Bao Cha Sa Che, and we know, I think, Chen, how to spell it. And these three seems to have, yes, thank you. And it seems that these three have a lot in common, at least Bao as a prefix letter and the same Mingshi. Can you give us some example how to understand Bao Cha A Cha? Because it's relatively new in this group. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the three. So here there was a mention of three particular. So all of these are companion. So please understand that all of these are companion words. What we mean by companion words is that when we state them by themselves, they don't have any meaning. But some of them, very like we had in previous discussion, like the word ni and rang, there are usually independent words, meaning that they have meaning by themselves, but in particular usage context, they act as a companion word. Similarly, so words such as che, this is an independent word, which is more like saying etc., like these all till this point. So che. But the word chen is a companion word, which means something that if something possesses a particular quality and you just use this particular companion word with that quality, then someone or something that we address to with this particular companion word possess that quality. Like the one that possesses the consciousness is known as sem chin. Or the one who possesses one who possesses great compassion is known as Ningje Chen. So this is a companion word. Cha. In normally cha is also an action word. It's an action word. So what cha does is that it's a word which in some cases what it does is that it emphasizes on a particular word. So it emphasizes in a word that, for example, when we say something like "paglip chakin," the one, so it emphasizes on the particular doer. So it gives an emphasis on who is doing it. Palit chakin means the one who is making the bread. Then the other meaning of this particular word as an action word could be understood as a statement or establishment. To understand as establishment, to establish. So it could be understood as to be established. For example, we have the word tamcha. Otherwise, we have the word timcha, which means timla chao, which means to be established as the law. So the word, for example, timla chao, which means to be established as a law. So could also be mean as an establish, to establish. Then finally, we have this word kamcha, which means to establish a commitment. So it's a combination of two meaning. Kam means to or to take a commitment, to have, so tamba means, normally tamba means to tighten or to have something in a particular limit. But tamcha means to have oneself in a particular limit, or saying like, this is something that I shall not do, and then that becomes the boundary. So to establish a boundary, tamcha. So to take a vow, which becomes the boundary, established boundary. So vows are also known as tamcha or tomba. So we have tamcha and tomba, which in both cases means setting up a boundary so that someone would be encased in that boundary, not for bad reasons, but so that one can protect their samaya vows. One can protect their practice by confining themselves in the boundaries of the discipline. But after understanding what is the purpose of the discipline, otherwise it becomes very problematic, as we all know. Then one doesn't know why the discipline, and then it becomes suffocating. But if one knows why the discipline, then it becomes rejoicing. And then discipline becomes something that we rejoice and something that we like, rather than something that we displease. But in any case, in this particular meaning, cha means to establish, tam means boundary or confinement, and not in the bad way, but to confine oneself in the boundary of discipline. So tam cha. So cha normally either could be understood as the one who is doing. For example, if we say palit chaki, it means the one who makes palit chaki. It could be understood as the one who makes the bread. And otherwise, it could also be understood as established. And then one meaning is as in tamcha, but this is similar to established. And then another meaning could be also as the one who improves something. So Jawa also it is something that is a action word, which means that there is an improvement upon something. So something was made, and then that was being improved, for example. So Kangpar Sochao, which means to improve the house. So the house was somewhat built in a particular manner, and then it was improved upon later on. So three particular meaning of cha. And the usage in the tamcha, though it may seem that it seems like being established, and so it is a independent word, but no, in this particular context, one must understand that cha is a companion word and not a word by itself. But this is an independent word, timla chao, or pagalip cha kin. But cha here is still a companion word with the kin. But this is the main word. This is the companion. And chawa is an independent word. But in tamcha, it is a companion word. So that is the meaning of the word chawa. But I hope this clarifies the question, clarifies a bit on the question. Okay, so Lesso, any more questions? Do we have any more questions? If you have if anyone has more questions, please ask away. Lasso. So it seems that this is it for today. So if anyone has any more questions, please ask away in the group. I will try to answer it as quick as possible. And if it takes a little bit of time, please understand that I will be answering it eventually. And for the questions that I might not have answered, if there are some questions that were asked before not answered, please remind me again in the class. Seems that I'm becoming a little forgetful sometimes. So because of which, I apologize. So please send them again and I will try to answer them in the group. And yes, so day after tomorrow will be so those who are joining me for the Dharma vocabulary class, that would be the last class for Dharma vocabulary. And after which we will have 20 days. So until the end of Losar, so probably 20 days. I will just look at the calendar and then I will confirm this later. In between, you can revise everything that we have done till this portion for the grammar. And for the grammar, we will continue this until Losar. So until Losar, we will continue the grammar class. On the eve of Losar, eve of the Losar, we will so any class which either comes during the eve of Losar or before that, that would be the last class. After which we will continue after the Losar, and in between, those who wants to send the recording. So some have sent me the recording of the Tree of Excellence speech. So thank you for that. Those who want to send them, please send the recording. I will listen and I will make time during that. Those who have sent me, I have listened to it. Most wonderful. And I will record and send you the feedback later. And those who want to send me the recording, please do so. I will listen and I will send everyone the feedback. And yes, and during those days, please try to revise everything to which we have studied to this point. We will make sure that we try to finish this entire course, this entire text this year. And then after that, we have some other text. So first we will be done with this commentary, then commentary of the gender sign by the same author. Then we will go to the commentary. We'll actually jump to the more advanced commentary by Siddha Rinpoche. It's called the Great Commentary. It has commentary for both this text and the gender sign. After which we'll go to the main text, which is the 30 and the gender sign. And then we are done with the, okay. And then if we get time, we will also try to cover the armor of speech. And then our grammar course will be wonderfully completed after that. So that is like a very, that is like the entire picture of what we're going to do with the grammar course. There will be, in total, there will be 3 commentaries, 2 core texts, if possible, 4 commentaries, 2 core texts in the grammar course. And so, and about what we're going to do after the Dharma vocabulary course, this I will announce during the Dharma vocabulary class, and the announcement will also be sent in the group and through email. Okay, so this is it for today. Let me recite this. This is a verse not written by me. It's a verse from the Bodhisattva, Bodhicitta. So this is the Bodhisattvacharya Avatara by Shantideva. And this comes in the 10th chapter, the chapter of dedication. And this is a dedication verse from that chapter. Those of you who are interested, please check the chapter of dedication. Very wonderful chapter. And especially if some of you who want to aspire in arising an idea of what a bodhicitta is, I recommend the entire text actually, but if not, then I recommend the first chapter and the chapter on tolerance and patience. So those who are interested, please check those. And then dedication also. The dedication verse is very beautiful. Entire chapter is very wonderful. It gives you an idea of how a bodhisattva thinks and how it is incomprehensible to think like them. So, and also, if you're interested, please check the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, in some of which you will come through certain type of actions, and also the 8-fold mind training of the Bodhisattva. So in between the 20 days, those could be something that you can actually check with a very wonderful text and try to read them. Circle the points where you see the grammatical usage. And then if you want to ask me, you can circle them and send to me. And then you can say, oh, please look here. Here, they have used it in this way. How should we interpret this? And then I will answer to it. Okay, so let me read this verse, very wonderful verse. It's the very meaning of this verse. When we think about the determination and the courage of the Bodhisattva, it's truly incomprehensible by someone as a amateur as me. It's very incomprehensible of how they think. It's beyond what one may think, because of someone like me who is always dwelling in the self-centered attitude. This is something that's totally beyond everything. So let me read this verse. It always gives me a certain type of shiver when I read this particular verse. So, Jisi namkane patang, Drowa jisi ne kyoba, Tesi dani ne kyune, Drove tunga selvasho. Very powerful verse. So what this particular verse says, that as long as the space remains, because space is the element which holds everything that exists. So the end of space is the end of everything that exists, events and everything. So as we know that there are 5 elements, as we know, according to the Abhidharma text. The first is the first one that came into existence was the space, which held the sphere of wind, which held the sphere of fire, which held the sphere of water, and finally the sphere of earth. And so the vessel known as the world system was created in this way. So if there is no space, there is nothing that holds these elements. So therefore, there is nothing that is compounding phenomena. So it means as long as the space remains, means as long as the world system remains. And since it's a vessel, it must hold something. So the one that it holds is the sentient beings. So, and remains the sentient beings. May I too remain, meaning that even though I could go to attain the complete enlightenment, may I too again and again come to this suffering, this ground of suffering, this samsara of suffering again and again. Not for myself, but for the sentient beings. And what should I do after coming here is to dispel the suffering of the entire sentient being. And so there's this another verse. I'll just do a direct interpretation of the meaning. It says that even for each sentient beings, if I would have to stay in the unbearable depth of the hell. May I take it as the greatest opportunity with greatest joy. So this is the way the Bodhisattva thinks, and it's very wonderful. So very thankful that we were able to recite this verse. And so the final line is Namo Guru Manju Goshaya, which means I bow and prostrate to you, O Guru Manju Goshaya, who is not separate from my Guru and Lama. So we ended here with this verse because this is a very auspicious verse. So we ended here without the confession. So thank you very much who joined here today. Very thankful to everyone who joined here and made it possible that we were able to have this class. And please memorize, recite again every and 15 minutes, and that too you can spend 10 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, trying to recite as much as you can, and then eventually you will memorize it. And if possible, do revision of everything by listening to the recording, by looking at the materials provided. If there is any questions, please, without any hesitation, directly ask me. It doesn't matter which time of the day you have that question. Just ask me, and when I will be able to answer it, I will answer it to you. So therefore, please feel free. Always feel free to ask questions, because the questions I appreciate the most. For me, I appreciate questions the most, and similarly, the commitment that every one of you are showing in studying this language, which is the identity of who I am as a person. So therefore, thank you very much for learning and the commitment of studying this language. And thank you very much for participating in this class. And I hope that every one of you benefited as much as I have benefited from teaching. And I will see every one of you, those who are joining me for the Dharma vocabulary class. It will be a class for summary and question answer session on Wednesday. And for those who are joining me only for the grammar class, I will see you on Friday. And I hope everyone I pray that everyone have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are. And so thank you very much, Tashitele, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.